Hey, hey, y'all. Hey, I think we're live. Hey, how are y'all doing? It's me, Dolores, the pastor's daughter. Today we are talking about chapter 3 of the book. We are still going strong, you guys. Let me just make sure y'all can hear me okay. Let me see if you can hear me, honey. Let me see if you can hear me, honey. I think you can. Hey, y'all. Hey, it is, what's today? Monday? Let me see if you can hear me. The 29th. No, okay, so we're gonna say it's the 28th, okay? Because I'm a little late with posting this video. And look, look at that. In the description, I put day 2 instead of day 20. What is it, day 22 or something? 21 or something like that, you guys? I don't know. I'm so puzzled. What is it, day 22 or something? 21 or something? I'm just here. I'm just here. Yeah, it's day 22, y'all. Lord have mercy. Y'all know what I meant. Charge it to my head, not to my heart, honey. So what's up, y'all? What y'all doing? How are you? Is anybody up? Probably not, because nobody's usually up at this time but me. Me and and a few of my friends. Me and Miss Yassi usually be up. Miss Nikki might be up. Who else be up? Friends. A few people be up sometimes. But I'm just going to keep going because you guys know I've been working through the process. I've been working through reading this book and just making sure that I am making a thought out, thorough decision with divorcing my father. And also, going through this process in front of you guys, being transparent. Sorry about that. Being transparent about the process and just working the steps, making sure that it is a healing journey, that it's not something that's done in anger or resentment or punishment, just like the author said, we need to make sure that we are making these types of decisions with careful consideration, and really you're making the decision with careful consideration because you have to do that for you, it's a toll that this takes on you. Just what you've been through to begin with takes a toll on you, and then to find yourself at this point where you're making this decision, like that's major. And I'm not taking the process lightly, and I don't believe that anyone else should either. I think that this process should be made with careful consideration and with healing in mind, and whether that be individual healing or that's a healing that you can do with your parents or whoever you find yourself having to divorce yourself from. Because like I told you guys, this can apply to multiple relationships. Any relationship that has this kind of implication of, there's that strong tie there, but it's toxic, and that it's in your best interest to either cut it off, take some time apart, or, work on reconciliation, maybe with a third party or whatever. So, like I said, I don't do this with the intention of causing division or, giving people this option without having to, without encouraging people to really work through the process. And so, you guys know, like I said, I would never ask you to do something that I wouldn't do myself or that I have not done myself. That is a requirement that should have of all leaders, all people who are speaking into our lives, who are giving us advice, um, who are in leadership over us. These are requirements that we should have for everybody. So, I'm showing by example, how this process should be. If you hire a counselor, if you see a counselor, your counselor should also have attended counseling. It's I think it's hypocritical, to even be seeing clients, if you haven't gone through the process yourself, if you haven't taken those steps. It's like, what can you really say to people, and pastors as well, people who are in spiritual leadership. I feel like they should also have a leader, have someone who is over them, someone that mentors them, and that they, bounce ideas and concepts and thoughts and issues. They bounce these off of each other and they hold each other accountable. And I'm not talking about in a spouse situation, because there are a lot of churches that have like the pastor and a co-pastor is a husband and wife team, right? Well, that could be good, but it can also be bad. It can also cause like a nepotistic type of a scenario where the checks and balances aren't there, because there is that close relationship between the people. It's like, um, I don't know. I don't necessarily think that it's all that great to be sitting there having pillow talk um, about the members of your church. But maybe people who are coupled up in ministry together in that way, maybe they have a difference of opinion. But I would think that the checks and balances system is compromised a bit, especially if the relationship between those two people are um, in a typical like marriage relationship. It's like, how can you really lead a church that way, and that's a conversation for another time. That's something that we can get deep into, and that I can um get husband and wife teams, to kind of speak to, because I don't have that expertise. But I can say that just off of observation, because my parents were pastor and co-pastor in ministry together, and I saw it, even though to a pastor, um still saw the dynamic, so I could speak to it in a way, but in a way I can't, and I understand that. So that might be a conversation that we can open up for people who have more expertise in that area. There's nothing wrong with that. So, all of that stuff is going on. You guys know that the paperback is coming out soon in April of 2022. So if you're listening to this, after that point, then more than likely the paperback is already out, and so you need to go get it, okay? Because when the paperback comes out, we're going to be starting, probably going right into the divorce proceedings right after that, because you guys know that I'm taking this very seriously. And so even, when I'm done reading this book and I feel like I'm more equipped to really speak to the process of divorcing a parent, I want to actually go through a divorce proceeding and, kind of see what that would look like, what that would feel like, and see if that also offers a bit of healing. Because I can say this as a person who has gone through, like a person who has gone through trauma and abuse, a lot of times abuse victims want justice. I would say more often than not, they want it to stop, right? But they also want justice. And justice simply means that there is something that is done to deter the behavior, deter future behavior. So sometimes people are, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm over here like moving stuff around my desk and stuff like that. Sometimes people are absolved of all of the responsibility of their actions. And when you seek justice for different actions, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person is going to be harshly punished or whatever like that, but it does apply responsibility to that person. It does kind of give them that viewpoint of, hey, you've done something wrong. We've acknowledged that you've done something wrong. We all know that you've done something wrong, and now we're holding you accountable, responsible. And if there is a punishment that needs to take place, then that's what needs to happen. Excuse me. But oftentimes, victims of abuse and stuff like that, they don't get justice, and they find that that's a missing piece. It's a missing piece in their journey to find healing and understanding in their experiences. Um, and so I really want to actually have a divorce proceeding, right here on my channel, a live divorce proceeding where I actually go through the issues that my father and I had, and I present my case and present my evidence. I mean, it's really just that simple. Um, I believe that this will be a powerful, powerful step, in healing, like, and deterring future problems. Like, I'm hoping that I go through this process, I go through this divorce, we go through the divorce proceedings, people see, hear, what I'm saying, hear it from my point of view, hear it, hear the things that have happened, and actually realize that they have been doing things that have hurt people, and that they need to make that right, and that they need to reconcile those relationships, and they need um, to find healing and a redemption in that. And so I just feel like, this is going to be a very powerful step in raising this type of awareness, and hopefully opening up a dialogue about these types of issues that happen in close relationships and familiar and romantic relationships and stuff like that. So, it's gonna work out, you guys. I know it's gonna be good. God is all up and through this. I really feel like He is guiding me every step of the way, and I have so much confirmation as I go. Even down to finding this book, you guys. Like I told you, I discovered this book well after my book had already come out, and I discovered this book. I knew what God was telling me, but I didn't have a whole lot of um, evidence that this had been done before, or any type of. I couldn't find anything initially, but for some reason, I don't know how. Somehow, it seems like, I'm telling you, it seems like this book just jumped right, like just fell right out of heaven. And right into my lap, and it was just like, okay, God, thank you, just what I needed. And so yeah, so like, I think it's pretty divine, you guys, pretty divine. So you guys see that on the what is it, child, the left hand side of the screen is the divorcing your going through. We're on chapter 3 today, and I think I'm going to go through the whole chapter 3 because there are a lot of exercises in here. I feel like I should go through it because I just thumbed through it to see what was coming up, exercises. I mean, because this written by a therapist, you guys, so there's going to be some action steps, that we have to do, right? Um, so I really feel like we should go all the way through it. I just read through it without doing the exercises, and then come back and do the exercises with you guys, like, or either do a pre-recorded. I'm not sure how I want to do that, but because I haven't read them yet. So when I read them, I'll decide what I feel like the best strategy would be for me to do this process myself first. Um, But yeah, like I said, y'all, this is like live and in living color. We're really doing this, It's like, I'm not reading this, prior to coming on here. I'm reading this with you guys. So I'm like digesting this um, as you guys are. And so I'm gonna take these Invisaligns out for a minute. My mouth is feeling extra juicy. My mouth feels extra juicy right now. So let me take these Invisaligns out for a minute, And yeah, then I'm gonna start reading. Have y'all got my book yet? Like, what are y'all waiting for? Y'all waiting for the paperback or what? What are we doing? Um, I need to know who's read it. What do you think? I've heard a couple people say stuff. They're like, it's good, and it's like, there's a lot of information in it. There's some funny parts in there, because I think I'm pretty fair and balanced. We'll see. You let me know if you think I'm fair and balanced when you read the book. But yeah, I'm just anxious to hear what y'all have to say about it. Like, don't be shy, you know. Come and tell me, shoot me a message, join my mailing list, and I'll send you the number to text me, so you can keep in touch with me, and all of that good stuff. Eventually, I know we're going to start counseling and coaching sessions. I'll be putting together some courses and um, and all of that good stuff. I was thinking about possibly doing a book club because you guys know that this is the first book in the series. And right now, the series is projected to be 7 books. So, you know, like I said, I want y'all to be in it, with me for the long haul, for the long haul. And um, so you can follow my story and follow everybody's story that's involved in this, because it's not just me. Like, the book just started with me, like I had to start with myself and taking a deep look at the impact that what I've been through had on my life. So I started with me, and it was hard, to be honest with you guys, like to write about myself, write about my experiences, write about how my father talked to me and treated me and stuff like that. Like, that was a very hard thing to do. And I'm really proud of myself. Like, I really am proud of myself for doing this. And I think I'm saying this, and, you know, I'm believing it as I say it. I didn't really believe it, but I believe it. It's like I'm coming to that place of believing that I am someone to be proud of. Like, I could be proud of myself for the things that I have accomplished and the things that I've overcome. Um, and I don't think I really like even gave myself that much credit, to just be like, hey, you know what? I'm proud of you, girl. Like, you're doing the dang on thing, and even to just, open myself up to be transparent and to expose a lot of my flaws and a lot of my weaknesses and insecurities, was a major thing. It's a major thing. And I think that's what stops a lot of people from speaking out about their abuse experiences, because in order to talk about the person who abused you, you have to also talk about what made you susceptible to the abuse, what made you weakened to um, to that abuse, And even when you are a child that grew up in an abusive situation, it's still very, very difficult to accept your shortcomings and your insecurities, even though they stem from the abuse. It's almost like you don't really think about it that way. That what you're going through now is because of what you've been through. Who you are now is because of what you've been through. And sometimes that's a little hard to accept, to digest, to be aware of, to just be aware of it is a challenge, So I have to say, like, I'm proud of myself. And not only that, but I'm proud of you guys too. I'm proud that you are here, that that you also took the step to be empowered and to take your life back, and well, just to live the rest of your life the way that you want to, on your terms, um, and with healing and clarity and peace and love and joy and everything that God intended for this life to be. It's just, I don't understand why we feel like we have to wait till we get to heaven in order to experience all that God has for us. And And I think that we only believe that because we are living around so many evil people that are trying to take away everything that God has for us, right? So sometimes we just say, let's just give up that fight and let's just wait until we can be on the other side of things, you know? But I don't believe that. I think that we have to fight to have what God intended for us to have, to live the life that God intended for us to have. And this is my fight. This is my effort to be all that God has for me to be. A lot of people go through experiences like I've been through and worse. And worse. And so I can't sit here and say, well, why me? You know, because we'd all be saying that. We'd all be saying, why us? But I just feel like I'm so blessed to be able to speak to it, you know, to be able to put a voice to the pain that a lot of people experience that they can't put a voice to. So it's a purpose and a calling that is even higher than myself. So I have to be proud of myself even for that. For just saying, hey, you know what? I'm not even gonna just think about myself and my own healing is process, you know, but I'm gonna give back and I'm going to pour into um, anyone and everyone else who has experienced any of this, you know, who can relate at all, you know. So that's my little spiel. Y'all know once I get to talking, see, I don't really consider myself to be much of a talker, but I say that I can't even say that without laughing, right? Because once I get to talking, like I talk, you know. But I am aware that a lot of people are not used to really hearing my voice, and that a lot of people's like, "Whoa, I've never heard you talk this much," you know. Um, but God has given me a lot to say, and I actually, you know, had a person who tried to silence me. You know, my father tried to silence me. And so anytime I can speak into someone's life and empower them and encourage them, um, then shoot, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. That's it. That is all. Okay. So let's get into chapter 3. And the title of this chapter Is Divorce the Healthy Choice for You? Is divorce the healthy choice for you? Now, you guys know that we went through chapter 2. Chapter 2 was full of very good stories about people who um, had to make that choice, you know, or found themselves at that decision point. And, you know, chapter 1 was like a basic overview of, oh, excuse me, I'm going back to the table of contents. So chapter 1 was like, you know, it's not that easy to forgive. You know, should you divorce? Should you not divorce? You know, chapter 1 let you know that your needs were important and that you needed to make this decision based on the right reasons, right? So not doing anything out of anger, and not saying that you can't have anger, because your anger is, in a lot of ways, it's your superpower, you know. Sometimes when you get angry at a situation, it's not a bad thing. I mean, we were told, you know, we've been lied to a lot, that we've been told that our anger was a bad thing, you know, especially Black women, because it's like, you're the angry Black woman. So, you know, that became a whole thing. But, you know, that's only because people were on the receiving end of your anger, and rightfully so. But the thing is that we do need to make sure that our anger is in check, right? We need to make sure that we are acting out our anger in a way that actually causes positive change, right? That doesn't do further damage, right? Because then in our anger, we could be abusive. And so that's not what we want to do here. Um, and so, you know, we can even turn that abuse around on the people who abused us. And then we'd really be no better, you know, because now we've taken our anger, we've allowed it to do the very thing that they've allowed their anger to do, or whatever is the root cause of their problems, you know. And so, you know, that was chapter 1. And then chapter 2, we went on to talk about the different reasons why it would be beneficial to divorce your parent, So she talked about when your parent is hypercritical, when they're manipulative and controlling, when they continue to abuse you, and when they continue to deny the truth. And sometimes you just have to break the cycle. So, in the book, she was talking about how some people were suffering from alcoholism and they found themselves relapsing when they were around that parent. And so they found themselves having to break contact so that, or divorce their parents so that they could save themselves, so that they could focus on their own sobriety and their own mental health and healing, and break that cycle. Sometimes you have to, have a strong cut in those ties in order to break the cycles of toxicity and stuff. So that's what chapter 2 was. And so as we get into chapter 3, get into more of the exercises, right? So this is more application in chapter 3. So is divorce the healthy choice for you? And it reads like this. Even though you may have excellent reasons for divorcing your parent and will feel justified in doing so, you may still be unable to make the decision. Nagging doubts may haunt you, strong emotions may scare you, and pressure from others may confuse you. Only you can make the decision to divorce a parent. No one should be allowed to pressure you by trying to talk you into or out of it. Susie shared how she felt pressured by several members of her incest survivors group. Many of the women had divorced their fathers, and I felt pressure from them to do the same. But I didn't feel as if they did. But I didn't feel as they did. I had a lot of anger toward my father for molesting me, but I still loved him and wanted him in my life. I got so that I felt uncomfortable sharing in the group because they seemed to feel so differently about their fathers. Margot's experience was just the opposite. She wanted to divorce herself from both of her parents, but she felt pressured by church members to forgive them and to continue the relationship. And this is what Margot said. The people at my church just don't understand how very cruel and destructive my parents were to me. They believe that I should forgive them and continue to see them, but I just can't. I've tried to explain to these people that my parents allowed their friends to molest me and that they would have wild parties where my parents and their friends would all be naked and taking drugs. But they just tell me that I should forgive my parents, that they need my help and my prayers, and they need me to preach the Lord to them. They just don't understand. I can't be around my parents. Making the decision of whether or not to divorce a parent can cause you much agony and deliberation. And there may be seemingly endless attempts to reconcile at reconciliation. Many years of pain, anger, fear, and guilt may precede your decision. Sometimes it can only be made following much compromise and humiliation. No one should make this type of life-changing decision without a great deal of soul searching. You need to keep trying until you feel there is absolutely no hope. For example, you must try every possible way to communicate to your parent that his behavior has hurt you or continues to hurt you and why. Surprisingly, parents are often oblivious to the fact that they are hurting their adult children with their abusive behavior. This doesn't excuse their behavior, nor does it excuse the fact that they are so oblivious to others' feelings, but it may explain how they can continue hurting their children without seeming to care. You need to work on learning to communicate with your parents in a clear, honest way so that you can let them know what your needs are and what kinds of behavior you are willing and not willing to accept. Okay. I don't know how I feel about that one. I mean, I agree, but yeah, I agree. I was just gonna say that sometimes there really is no hope, but then that would be, you would also, that would be like getting to the point where you have done all you can and then you realize that. So I could see that. I agree with that. Okay, let's keep going. The exercises in this chapter are designed to help you decide whether you want or need to divorce your parent, not whether you should or shouldn't. We will begin this process by exposing your denial. In order to come to a clear decision, you will need to work past your denial about how abusive, neglectful, critical, or controlling your parent was or is, and take an honest look both at who she has been to you and who she is now. The former is accomplished by reviewing your childhood and recalling how your parents mistreated you. You will then be instructed to notice how your parents treat you now and to list what she currently does that upsets you. Once you have clarified these two areas, you will need to find constructive ways of releasing your anger regarding mistreatment so that you do not divorce your parent out of anger or retaliation. The list of anger releasing techniques will be provided. It is easy to get caught up in doing what we think we should do, that is, what others expect us to do, or what we think is the right thing to do. Most people you know are not going to think divorcing your parent is the right thing for you to do. And yet, what about what you want? Make sure you do what is best for you instead of what others think is right for you. There are no shoulds when it comes to this issue, only wants and needs. In this chapter, you will explore two ways of discovering what you really want. One is to listen to your inner voice, and the other is to listen to your body's message. You will learn how to connect with your inner voice and how to listen to its words of wisdom when you ask yourself whether divorce is the healthy choice for you. You will also begin to pay attention to how your body reacts when you are around your parents, and you will learn to respect its messages. If you are contemplating divorcing both parents, you will need to address each parent separately when you do the exercises. Okay, now the first one. This next section is reviewing your past. It is important to face the truth about your parents. While some adult children see their parents as all bad, as we discussed in chapter 1, many people from dysfunctional families tend to deny how bad their childhoods really were and how much they were hurt by their parents. I'm gonna highlight this section. This is especially true at the beginning of recovery. One of the biggest obstacles to facing the truth is our tendency to make our parents better than they really are and to excuse their abusive behavior. Writing your story down will be of particular benefit, since once it is in black and white, it will be a constant reminder of what you have been through and will be harder for you to deny. See, that's why I had to write a book, y'all. That's why I had to write a book. So that's why I think this exercise is going to be really important, because when you read the book, then you know it's like it all makes sense. So that's why I feel like once we go through this book, then we'll go through mine, and then I feel like what was there would make more sense. And then I think I'll even have some clarity. Maybe there's some things in the book that I didn't give a fair and balanced assessment to, and so maybe I'll see that too. I don't know. Okay, on a piece of paper or in a notebook or journal, list every abusive incident and every act of neglect and abandonment that your parent ever did to you, beginning as far back as you can remember. Here is an excerpt from my own list. Oh, okay, y'all. She's about to list some of the stuff that her mom did. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's read through that. Okay. The first thing she wrote is, when I was a very little girl, under 3, my mother used to let me roam freely in the neighborhood while she slept. I could have been abducted by someone or hit by a car since we lived on a busy street. Number 2, when I was 6, she beat me with a switch because she forgot that I had told her where I would be. Number 3, one time she sent me to the store and I lost the quarter she had given me to buy some tuna. I went home and told her I had dropped the money, but she didn't believe me. She thought I had spent it. She angrily took me back to the store and asked the storekeeper if I had bought any candy with the money. He told her no, that I had dropped it and we hadn't been able to get it from under the counter. Oh, wow. Okay, number 4. I once got a beating for lying because I told her the babysitter was critical of me. I mean, critical of her. She confronted the babysitter, who, of course, lied and said she hadn't said those things. Oh, wow. Oh, that's crazy. My father used to think we lied all the time, so he would believe other people over us. And sometimes it just seemed like he was making up stuff just to have a reason to beat us. It was just like, dude, like that's not even true, and it's not true. Number 5, she used to get drunk and become verbally abusive, telling me what a selfish, no good kid I was. She would get so drunk that she'd fall down. Number 6, she didn't teach me how to brush my teeth, tie my shoes, or change my underwear. She spent hours getting herself ready to go someplace, and yet she would send me off to school looking like a ragamuffin. Oh, Jesus. Number 7, she was critical of all my friends. I got the feeling that none of them were ever good enough and that she wanted to possess me. Number 8, she didn't encourage me to succeed, but instead criticized me constantly. I could never do anything right for her. Nothing was ever good enough, no matter how hard I tried. Number 9, she seemed to have no understanding of what my problems were or of how I might feel in any given situation. There were several times when I would be having a personal crisis and she would have no idea about it whatsoever. No matter how unhappy I was, she just didn't seem to notice. Wow. Okay. Now she says, read your own list over several times, paying attention to how you feel each time you read it. It may make you feel angry, and it will probably bring up a lot of emotional pain. Allowing yourself to feel and express whatever emotions surface will help you come out of denial, face the truth about your childhood and your parents, and make your decision as to whether divorce is a healthy choice for you. I like that, you guys. I think that's really good. Like that's it seems like a really effective exercise, and you'll see that too in my book. That I listed, and not necessarily listed just like one by one like this, but I did list the spiritual abuse tactics in this way that my father used on me. Um, the 14 spiritual abuse tactics, and it looks a lot like this list. Okay, I'll continue reading. Read your list out loud to a trusted friend or loved one. If applicable, ask her if she remembers anything that you have forgotten to put on the list. Since we sometimes forget a little too readily what a parent has done to us, make a list of the things your parent has done to hurt other people. Rolando had been in a terrible conflict as to whether or not he should divorce his father. No matter what his father did to him, Rolando kept making excuses for his behavior. It wasn't until he wrote the following list that he was able to get it into his head how very abusive his father was. I wonder if that exercise will help my brother, the one who's brainwashed. Because he actually like said my father was a hero, and it's just like, dude, like what do you what do you mean? And I think that like he was my brother, the one who was brainwashed, was traumatized from a fall that he had when he was in the Navy. And ever since then he seemed to really like be tied to my father, like in a very unhealthy and toxic way. Um and still is. And I wonder if it would help him to gain some clarity if he would actually write down a list of the things that he saw my father do to other people, to animals, the crooked things my father did, using people and manipulating people and stuff like that. Like my brother witnessed all of that stuff and is still witnessing that stuff. And I just think that maybe this will be an exercise that's really important for him, since he doesn't seem to have the ability to look at the things that my father did to him and, make that assessment, and look at the things that my father continues to do to him. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it'll help if he was to look at things from other people's perspective and think of it that way. I don't know. And I don't know if it would make a difference, but whatever. Okay, so Rolando made a list, right, of what his father was doing to other people. So here's his list. Number one, my dad used to lock my sister in the closet because she wouldn't stop crying. Number two, later on, he began to sexually abuse her. I was afraid of him, so I couldn't do anything about it. Number three, as she became more and more withdrawn, he would make fun of her for being so shy. This made her even more shy and withdrawn. Number four, I think he made her pregnant and then sent her away to a home for unwed mothers where she stayed for nearly a year. Gosh. Number five, when she started rebelling by staying out late at night and coming home drunk, he would beat her mercilessly. Jesus Christ. Number six, he became more and more critical of her as she got older. And to this day, he doesn't have a nice word to say about her. Number seven, when my sister discovered that she was an alcoholic and started to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, he refused to believe it and told her that those people were all nuts. Number eight, when her husband committed suicide, he said that it was her fault, that she made his life so miserable that he decided to kill himself rather than live with her. Jeez. Y'all, it's some cruel parents out here. It is some really nasty parents out here. Y'all, stop freaking having kids. Ugh. It's like you don't have to have kids. Just stop freaking having them and you're not going to do right. Unfortunately, we often care more for others than we care for ourselves, and we become upset more easily over how our parents have treated someone we love than we do about how they treated us. Sometimes we have to look at a situation through someone else's eyes before we can see it objectively. If it takes looking at what your parent did to others in order for you to get in touch with your anger and with the truth about your parent, then you must do whatever is necessary. I agree. I totally agree. Cuz I think like even for me like I forgave my father for all the child abuse and stuff like that, right? But my anger was like my recent anger that just before I left was more stemmed from how he was treating other people, like how he was treating people in the church and stuff like that. And I'm just like, why are you doing this? You know, it just seems so unnecessary and so evil, you know, that he would do the things that he was doing just for no good reason, you know, and saying that it was for God and for the building of the church and stuff like that, when it was just really for him, you know, to feed his own ego and greed and pride and um, narcissism, you know, it was all for him. And so, ugh, I can't stand this, y'all. Like I'm telling you, like I have a strong disdain for people who mistreat their children. I have a strong disdain for that. Cause it's like you have the opportunity to create greatness. Like God gave you like a whole person, a whole like a blank slate of a person, and you can actually show and exemplify God's love to that person. You can teach them, you know, things. You can love them. You can, you know what I'm saying? Like you can nurture them. You see them grow. You see them become a whole person. You see how they start to give back, how they develop love and empathy and compassion for other people. I'm amazed when I see my sons. I'm amazed at how they have grown and who they are becoming and how their personalities shine and how their talents and you know can shine and I'm just like, what can I do to nurture and to make them great, you know? And I just can't understand why. Why? 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 Like, why not? I mean, it's just such a calling. And it's like, if you don't view the children that you birth in your family that you've created as your first ministry, your most important ministry, then you shouldn't be ministering to anyone. You shouldn't be preaching to anyone. Take care of home first. Okay. So this next section is separating the past from the present. Okay, so let's read. Okay. Although the way your parent mistreated or neglected you as a child certainly affects the way you feel about her today, it is how she treats you today that is the most important factor in determining whether or not you will divorce her. What exactly does your parent do now that is unacceptable to you? List all the ways that she continues to be abusive, controlling, manipulative, or neglectful. Okay, and she says, here's an excerpt from my own list. So this is what the author says that her mother was doing in present day when she was making this decision and weighing out, all of this stuff. So she says, number one, my mother doesn't take an interest in the things that are important to me. She doesn't ask about my work or my relationship. Number two, she tries to manipulate me with guilt. Number three, she tries to tell me how to run my life. Number three, she refuses to acknowledge how her behavior in the past still affects me in the present. Number five, she constantly gives me double messages, saying one thing and then denying that she meant it when I confront her with it. Number six, she continues to be extremely secretive and refuses to be honest about events of my childhood, about my father, and so on. Okay. Many emotions will undoubtedly be stirred up when you write this list, and you may become keenly aware that you do not want to be around someone who treats you this way. Since these feelings will tend to fade as time passes and you begin once more to rationalize and minimize your parents' behavior, read over your list from time to time as a way of breaking through these defensives. Tell yourself that you do not deserve this kind of treatment and that you deserve to be treated with respect, consideration, and caring. Ask yourself what the chances are of your parents changing and begin to treat you um, in the ways that you want and deserve to be treated. This is good, you guys. This is good. This is really good. Okay, the next part, releasing your anger. In her book, For Your Own Good, about the hidden cruelty in much child rearing, Alice Miller writes, the individual psychological stages in the lives of most people are: 1. To be hurt as a small child without anyone recognizing the situation as such. Number 2, to fail to react to the resulting suffering with anger. Number 3, to show gratitude for what are supposed to be good intentions. Number 4, to forget everything. Number 5, to discharge the stored up anger onto others in adulthood or to direct it against oneself. Okay, the individual psychological stages in the lives of most people are: to be hurt as a small child without anyone recognizing the situation as such, to fail to react to the resulting suffering with anger, to show gratitude for what are supposed to be good intentions, to forget everything, to discharge the stored up anger into others in adulthood or to direct it against oneself. Y'all hear that long sigh? It's like the long silent sigh, like when you're reading something, you're just like, huh? Okay. I'm gonna have to read that again. So this book is called this other one is called For Your Own Good. It's about the hidden cruelty in much child rearing. Okay, I'm gonna skip this part. Before you decide to divorce one or both of your parents, it is important that you release your anger towards them. Otherwise, you will stay stuck in your childhood, unable to see your parents for who they are today. Many adult children have found that once they have released their repressed anger, they are able to see their parents in a more compassionate light. I think that's important. I think that's really, really important because it is important to understand how the situations were for our parents, the culture at the time, the way they grew up, their worldview, all of those things I'm sure are very important. I mean, at the end of the day, um, it doesn't really change how, you know, what you experienced and how it made you feel, but it does provide some clarity in making the decisions that you need to make now. Okay, you guys, I just put on a little ambient music in case you hear that. So you know you're not going crazy. I just put on a little ambient music. Okay, so where are we? Okay. Some adult children want to hold on to their anger because they are afraid that if they release it, they will become too vulnerable to their parents. They believe that as long as they remain enraged, they will have the strength to stay away. But repressed anger actually does the opposite, weakening us and making us more vulnerable. Releasing your anger towards your parent can give you the courage to divorce him and the strengthen your determination to not allow him to continue to ruin your life. Most parents refuse to listen to their adult children's anger, and in fact, refuse to believe that they have the right to that anger. If parents would allow their adult children to express their anger toward them directly for all the ways they have abused or neglected them, divorcing a parent would be unnecessary. You may have tried to express your anger directly to your parent several times, only to have him defend himself, deny any responsibility, argue with you, manipulate you by appearing deeply hurt, or try to shut you up in some way. Y'all, all of the above happened to me. It's all in the book, y'all. And you guys will see, like, this is exactly what I was dealing with. Unfortunately, you need not express your anger directly to your parent to benefit. In my book, The Right to Innocence, Healing the Trauma of Childhood Sexual Abuse, I listed several excellent anger releasing techniques as follows. Ooh, this is going to be good, y'all. This is going to be good. Okay. The first exercise is physical exercises. In all the physical releases, inhale deeply before making any sudden exertion. And remember to keep breathing. Let out a sound with each exhale whenever you can. Say the word no or some other word that expresses your anger. You might place a picture of the person with whom you are angry nearby when you do some of your physical exercises. Hitting. Purchase a encounter bat or a batica. It's a foam bat available in most sporting goods stores. Or use a plastic bat or old tennis racket. Place a large pillow before you on the floor or position yourself on or next to your bed. Get on your knees, lift the bat directly above your head, and bring it down hard in a swift movement. You can envision the person you are angry with, but as you hit, make sure your eyes are wide open and focused on the spot on the pillow or bed. Punch a punching bag or punch the air, as in shadow boxing. Pound pillows with your fist. Lay on your back, on the floor, or on your bed. Place pillows at your sides directly beneath your hands. Yeah, I'm reading. This is a numbered list. I should read the numbers too. So that was number 2. Number 2 is punch a punching bag or punch the air, as in shadow boxing. Number 3, pound pillows with your fists. Lay on your back on the floor or on your bed. Place pillows at your sides directly beneath your hands. Number 4, hit a piece of furniture with a rolled up towel, newspaper, or magazine. Number 5, play a sport that requires a hitting action such as tennis, racquetball, or volleyball. Focus on releasing anger while you are hitting. Number 6, punching clay, dough, or any other pliable material. Okay, kicking and stomping. Number 1, stomp an old egg carton or aluminum cans. Number 2, kick a large pillow or ball. Number 3, take a walk. And each time you take a step, imagine that you are stomping on the person with whom you are angry. Yeah, that is so funny to me. Look, she said take a walk, and each time you take a step, imagine that you are stomping on the person with whom you are angry. That is too funny. Okay. Number 4, do karate kicks. Number 5, do scissor kicks on a bed or a mat. Okay, the next one is pushing. Number 1, place 2 large pillows against the wall. Lay on your back using your feet and legs. Kick and push the pillows as hard as you can against the wall. This is especially effective for women who have been raped or violently assaulted. Number 2, facing a wall or a door, stand with your arms straight out in front of you, an arm's length from the wall or door. With feet planted firmly on the floor, start pushing as hard as you can against the wall. Say it loud, get away from me, or leave me alone. Okay, the next one is throwing. Number 1, throw unwanted dishes, raw eggs, or water balloons against a garage wall, a back fence, or a garbage can. Number 2, throw pillows against the wall. Make sure you let out a sound saying something like no, or get away, or take that as you do so. Number 3, throw balls or darts. Number 4, throw rocks into a river or into the ocean. Tearing, that's another one. Number 1, tear an old phone book or a newspaper into pieces. Number 2, tear up old pillows, sheets, or rags. Screaming and yelling. Number 1, put your face into a pillow and scream as hard as you can. Number 2, yell and scream in the shower. Number 3, turn the TV or radio up loud and scream. Number 4, scream and yell on amusement park thrill rides. Number 5, scream long and loud in a quiet, private place. Number 6, roll up your car windows, turn your radio up loud, and scream as long and hard as you can. Okay, the next thing she recommends is writing exercises. Hey, that's what I did, you guys. In the following exercises, write whatever comes to mind without censoring yourself. Remember that no one will ever need to see what you have written. Number 1, write a letter to the person you are angry with, expressing exactly how you feel. This letter is intended for releasing anger, not for mailing. Don't ask questions such as how could you or why did you, since questions help maintain your role as victim. Instead, make statements using I, for example. I'm angry with you for what you did, or I don't like what you did, or, it says be assertive. When you are done, you may either um, tear up the letter or keep it. Okay, she wrote a letter to her mother, you guys, and this is the letter she wrote to her mother. But she didn't send it. She just decided to write it. Okay. Then she says, Mother, I hate you for what you have made me into. I hate you for hurting the little child in me so much that she would probably never be able to love freely without feeling rejected and criticism. I hate you because I have been so damaged by you, so messed up sexually, emotionally, and spiritually. You not only robbed me of my childhood, my innocence, and my self-esteem, but you continue to rob me of a chance to love, a chance to be peaceful, a chance to be whole. I was a beautiful, loving, intelligent, and talented child, and you systematically set out to destroy me. You tried to destroy my beauty by stuffing me with unhealthy foods, by dressing me like a ragamuffin, by not teaching me how to brush my teeth, and by filling me with hatred. I tried to take away the love inside of me by hating you, criticizing me, teaching me that I couldn't trust others, and teaching me that to love is to be foolish, that loving means getting hurt. You tried to destroy my intelligence by never encouraging me in school, by coming in and yelling at me for keeping the light on late at night when I studied, by making me doubt my perceptions, by making me think my ideas were stupid. And you tried to destroy my talent by telling me that no one makes a living as an artist or writer, that no one would buy my first book. Well, you did a pretty good job of destroying me. It has taken me 41 years to repair the damage. Y'all, she said it's taken her 41 years and I'm 41. You guys, I told you this book fell right out of heaven. Listen, okay? Like we were the same age at this decision point. That is so crazy. Okay, let me continue reading. reading. But the little child is still inside me, as beautiful, loving, intelligent, and talented as she ever was. And I am becoming more beautiful, loving, intelligent, and talented every day. Y'all, I could have wrote this letter. I could have wrote this letter to my father. But right down to the age, though, you guys, like that is wild. Number 2, complete the following sentences. I am angry at my mother because. I am angry at my father because. And then you fill in why you're angry. And see, you guys, I wrote this in my book. Hold on, let me go to it. Um, let me see. On page 13 of my book, right? It says here, I am angry. You guys, with exclamation point. And I said, that's why I felt compelled to write this book, because anger was making me sick, draining the life out of me, and literally killing me. It was like a weed sucking up every bit of goodness, a cancer blackening every lively cell, ravaging, mutilating, and brutalizing every part of me, including my spirit. I began having unexplained illness, mental fogginess, extreme fatigue, debilitating sadness, and uncharacteristic emotional outbursts that shocked even me. It confused me. What's wrong with me? I thought. Nothing made sense. Dots weren't connecting, and things didn't add up. So I embarked on this journey to improve my health and live my best life. A journey where I uncovered the root cause of my anger, broke free of those who triggered it, and processed the effects it all had on my mind, body, and spirit. And I talk about anger a lot because, the book is called Provoked. Um, and it stemmed from the scripture in Ephesians 6:4 that talks about, fathers do not provoke their children to anger by the way you treat them. And I just feel like, my father really provoked me to that place of such anger and rage, and wrath, really, you know, to put it truthfully. I was really, really extremely angry. Um, and so it was important for me to really write all that down to be able to make sense of it and to put it put it down in a healthy way, where I wasn't acting it out or targeting people that didn't have anything to do with it, like taking my anger out on people that weren't the cause of it. Okay, so the next exercise is fantasizing and imagining exercises. For some people, it may be easier to imagine releasing their anger rather than to release it through physical or written exercises. So, I mean, this book really provides a lot of different techniques and how you can really release your anger and begin to really make sense of it. So, number one here is have an imaginary conversation with the person you are angry with. Tell that person exactly how you feel. Don't hold anything back. Number 2, pretend the person you are angry with is sitting in a chair across from you. It may help to put a picture of the person on the chair. Talk to the empty chair or to the picture and tell that person off. Number 3, express your feelings of anger by talking into a tape recorder, saying everything you have ever wanted to say as if you were talking directly to your parent. Y'all, I have done all of the above. I've done all of the above. You will see a lot of these videos on my YouTube page. Dolores, the pastor's daughter. That's Delores, the pastor's daughter. And you'll see how I have done, I've been doing this work. I did some videos where I directed them, to my father. And then I did, videos where I just expressed my anger. And it's just like, just really trying to use different techniques. And really, I recommend doing all of these techniques, especially, when you have had such extensive damage, done. It's like, I feel like there's that you could take a little something or take a technique or two from each of these exercises. Okay, the next part is listening to your inner voice. There is a voice inside of us that can be described as our inner voice or the voice of our higher self. While this concept can sound mysterious, it really is not. Your inner voice is that voice deep inside that provides you with your clearest insights. It is the reflection of your most accurate self knowledge. This voice speaks to you often, and you can hear it if you pay attention. For example, think of the times when you have wanted dessert, but you are watching your weight. More than likely, there was a voice inside you that said, "No, don't have that dessert." When and if you listen to this voice, you probably feel better about yourself. When you ignore this voice, you don't. To better understand what your inner voice is, it may be helpful to know what it is not. It's not the part of the mind that engages in lengthy analysis or dialogue. Your inner voice is not your will. For your inner voice to be useful, you have to listen to it and use your will to act on the insights you hear. Neither is your inner voice the stream of emotions. Though the inner voice communicates through feelings, it is better understood as that part of the self where feelings and thinking meet. There can also be other voices in your head. Often, clients confuse their inner voice with the voice of a parent. Through a process called introjection, we internalize our parents' messages to us when we were children. As children, carrying our protective parents around within us was necessary in order for us to feel safe. Unfortunately, we sometimes internalize the parents' critical voice as well, and carry it into adulthood. When we are adults, we hear this critical voice whenever we have done something we think is bad or wrong. If you hear a voice inside you whenever you succumb to temptation that says things like, "You shouldn't have eaten that dessert," when you were, "When are you ever going to learn?" Or, "What a pig. Are you happy now that you've gained 5 pounds?" You are hearing a critical parent voice. Don't mistake this voice for your inner voice. Your higher self does not chastise you after the fact. It is there to tell you what you should do before you make a decision. It is on your side. People from dysfunctional families are not accustomed to listening to their own true voice. If you are constantly thinking negative thoughts about yourself, if you are always beating yourself up, one of or both of your parents were probably very critical of you. Try to catch yourself when you think a critical negative thought about yourself and try to discover where you got that message. Whose voice is it that you're hearing? Your own or that of your parent? When your higher self will While your higher self will not steer you wrong, your critical parent voice may, since its purpose is not to guide you, but to make you conform to rules and expectations set by others. Your higher self is not concerned with rules or shoulds, but with what is best for you. That's good stuff, you guys. Letting your inner voice guide you. The messages of your inner voice can help you decide whether to divorce your parent. First, however, you must cultivate your ability to hear it. As long as your mind is engaged and occupied with all your daily concerns, you won't be able to hear the quiet messages from your deepest self. The following exercise was partly taken from the book Inner Joy by Harold H. Bloomfield and Robert B. Corey. It will take approximately 10 minutes to do and will help you to connect your inner voice. The more you practice it, the more you will understand it. After you have learned to make contact with your inner voice, you will no longer need to use this technique. You can pause for a moment anytime, anywhere, and tune in to the messages from your deepest self. Okay, so number one is make sure you are alone and in a quiet place where you will not be disturbed. Get into a comfortable position, preferably laying on your back. Close your eyes and take 3 or 4 deep breaths through your nose. Notice the soothing effects of the air filling your lungs, then follow it through your nostrils. Then flowing through your nostrils. Number 2, systematically relax all the muscles in your body. Start with your toes and slowly work your way up the body. First tensing the muscles and then relaxing them as much as possible. Relax your feet, calves, knees, thighs, hips, abdomen, buttocks, back, chest, shoulders, neck, hands, arms, and face. Allow the warm heaviness of relaxation to spread throughout your body. Number 3, now imagine that you are floating in space or lying in a warm meadow. Create any mental image that you find peaceful and deliciously enjoyable. Let the world slip away and drift naturally into your reveries. Once you have relaxed, this is number 4. Once you have relaxed, with each exhalation of breath, mentally repeat the word one or any other simple syllable to yourself. Number 5, after several minutes, when you are feeling at ease, begin to notice that you're able to sit back and observe the flow of thoughts and feelings in your mind. Number 6, to create a quiet inner peace. Number 6, sorry you guys. To create a quiet inner peace, make a decision to set all your problems and daily concerns aside. You needn't try to force thoughts out of your mind. All that is really required is a decision to set them aside. The idea is not to forget your problems, but to put them in an orderly perspective, much like making a list of things you have to do. Once you have cleared this inner space, you will settle more deeply into yourself. You will begin to have a more intimate sense of your total body state. You may notice tension in a muscle or a worry nagging somewhere in the back of your mind. These subtle feelings indicate that you're clearing space to learn what's really going on inside. Number 7, now focus on the problem at hand. In this case, whether or not you should divorce your parent. Be aware of the problem without focusing on it too closely or intensely. Notice any feelings that begin to emerge from within. You will probably encounter some intense emotions. Don't try to analyze your emotions and don't try to push them away. Just allow yourself to notice and express them. As you allow repressed pain to surface, you'll feel a great sense of relief and emotional freedom. Let the feelings grow on their own. If a feeling shifts, follow it, but don't force it. Attend to it as if you were watching an interesting movie. Gradually, the feeling will take on a recognizable shape. Number 8, the last step is to put your feelings into words. The feeling will give you a new perspective on the problem, so don't worry to label it with stock phrases. Take an experimental attitude. Words will come up. Gently match them against the feeling. If there is an approximate match, you'll have a deep inner sense of rightness. There will be a click, perhaps an aha. If the match is not good, the sense of rightness will be fuzzy. As you work with words to describe your feelings, use the sense of rightness as your guide. It is very similar to the sense of rightness you have when you adjust a crooked picture. When the picture is straight, you simply feel that it's right. So, to find the words to understand the new feeling from your inner voice, when it's clear, you'll feel it's right. You may have to use this technique several times in order to get a clear answer to your question. You may feel ambivalent about the messages you hear or about the feeling you have. Ask yourself, what does this feeling mean? And wait for a response. If after 10 minutes you feel no click or of understanding, no sense of rightness to anything that has come up, let it be. Come back later and do the exercise again. Be patient. The answer will come, and it will be the right answer for you. Your inner voice may start out as just a soft whisper, but the more you listen to it and act on what it says, the stronger and clearer it will become. That's good stuff, y'all. That is a really, really good exercise. I like it. What do y'all think? Do y'all like this listening to your inner voice exercise? I think I have really, really become pretty good at this, at listening to my inner voice. Um, but I would think that it still takes a lot of time because a lot of time and a lot of work, consistency to really like get this down. Um, because when you have dealt with a parent, that is someone, that is highly critical, their voice will come back up. And I think that this happens in situations where people has been with a really critical spouse or a partner, whatever. That this like these their voices will still come back up in your mind, and you will have to like silence those voices. So I think that this technique will be very very useful and something that you can consistently do over time, and will just really get it down over time. So the next part that we're going into is physical and emotional clues. Let me see how long have I been on here. Like I told you, these chapters are actually pretty long, but I really want to just go ahead and work through chapter 3. It's a lot of exercises. But like I said, I want to come back through and actually show you guys how how I worked with the exercises. Really not even realizing, but I say that, but I really did do a lot of research. And you guys know that I am a nationally certified counselor. So, some of these techniques, I learned in school. I use them, with clients and stuff like that. So it's not that I'm just new to this concept, but as far as applying it to my own situations, it is like kind of fairly new. Um, so yeah, I just think it's good. Like I really think this is good. I just like I think this is more like confirmation for me, that I have been doing the steps that were necessary. That um, yeah. And so it just to me it just adds more validity to my book and the process that I've gone through in healing so far. And I'm hoping that it gives like a really good way forward too. I'm just really seeing how the ideas that God gave me in working through my situation is exactly coinciding with this book and what this therapist recommends too. So I like it. I feel like this is some good confirmation. Okay, so the physical and emotional clues. Whenever we are in conflict, our bodies and our emotions react strongly, often giving us important physical and emotional clues that can help us resolve the conflict. This is particularly true when we are around someone with whom we have strong negative or conflictual feelings. Our bodies reflect our emotional state, so your body can tell you a lot about what is good for you and what is not. Your body and your emotions working together can give you important clues about how you are feeling around your parent. And equally important, can help you know how you feel when you are away from him. How do you feel when you think of going to see one or both of your parents? Ooh, ooh, y'all. I told y'all I don't even go on that side of town, okay? I don't even go on that side of town. I don't even want a chance encounter. Like, I don't even want a chance encounter. So the questions are, do you look forward to seeing them? Do you feel fearful or anxious about seeing them? Do you become physically ill or extremely tired? Oh my gosh. Do you become depressed? Do you feel resentful at having to see them? Do you look for excuses not to see them? Then the next is, how do you feel after you have been with one or both of your parents for a while? Do you feel anxious or nervous or afraid? Do you feel on guard? Do you feel angry? Do you begin to feel trapped? Do you start looking forward to going home? How do you feel right after you have left them? Are you relieved to be away from them? Do you regret having seen them? Do you feel better or worse about yourself? What emotions do you feel? Do you wish you hadn't gone? Are you angry at yourself for going? Do you feel guilty for having left when you did? Do you feel guilty for having wanted to leave, or for wishing you hadn't come, or for not having liked being in your parents' presence? And what after effects do you feel from the visit? Do you eat too much when you get home? Do you feel compelled to have a drink or take drugs? Do you snap at your mate or your kids? Are you overly critical of others, of yourself? Do you um, do something to try to sabotage any success you may have accomplished or any good relationships you may have? Do you try to escape your feelings of by sleeping, watching TV, or reading? Do you feel despondent or have a hard time holding back tears? Do you become physically self destructive? For example, by picking at your skin, you guys, I have a whole video about this, or grabbing yourself with sharp or jabbing yourself with sharp instruments? Do you feel hopeless or and suicidal? Do you drive recklessly or have fantasies of running your car into the center divider on the freeway? And then, how long does it generally take you to recover from your visits with your parents? Do you fall into a deep depression for days or even weeks? Do you go on a drinking, eating, shopping, gambling, or sex binge? Do you or your mate argue for days, or do you remain distant from your mate and other loved ones for several days following a visit with your parents? Do you have a difficult time at work or school for several days or weeks? Y'all, all of the above. All of the above. Oh my goodness. If many of these things happen to you after seeing one or both of your parents, your body and your emotions are trying to tell you that it is unhealthy for you to be around them right now. Listen to these important messages while you may feel compelled. Excuse me. Y'all, I just totally missed that period. Listen to these important messages. While you may feel compelled to see them out of guilt or loneliness, the price you pay may be too great. That's the balance right there. It's like once you answer these questions, sometimes you still will, out of guilt, or obligation, still surround yourself by the with the toxicity. Still subject yourself to it. So that's why it's really important to do these exercises, because then it's like it forces you to, not forces you, but kind of, it kind of forces you to really just take a look at these issues, and um, helps you to not deny them. Okay, the next section is before you decide to divorce. Before you to decide, you guys, I can talk. I promise I can talk. I can read. Before you decide to divorce one or both of your parents, I would recommend that you do at least one of the following. One, seek professional help. Two, have a formal confrontation with your parent. Or three, try a temporary separation. All three suggestions are aimed at helping you to be absolutely certain that divorcing your parent is truly what you want and need to do. Each will provide you with valuable information about yourself, your feelings, and your parents. Okay, so seeking professional help. Although you should not allow anyone to pressure you into making such an important decision, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't seek professional help with your conflict. Therapy can be a tremendous benefit in helping you work through your individual concerns and conflicts regarding divorce. Look more objectively at the pros and cons and prepare you for making the break if you choose to do so. But even a therapist should not be allowed to tell you what to do. Find a therapist who can be objective about the issue, one who doesn't have any preconceived ideas about divorcing parents. Unfortunately, some therapists have strong beliefs about families staying together at all costs or about the necessity of forgiving parents for whatever they have done. One of the main questions to ask a potential therapist when interviewing her is what her personal beliefs are regarding forgiveness. If she believes that you should always work toward forgiveness, that this forgiveness will come from your understanding that your parents were probably abused or neglected themselves, and that your anger only hurts you, then this person may be too biased to work with. She may not be able to understand that sometimes there are acts that cannot be forgiven. That if someone does not admit that he has done wrong, it is difficult to forgive him for it. Or that even if we were able to forgive, it may not be possible to be around that person. Here are some other important questions to ask a potential therapist. Have you worked with adult children of abusive families? That's number one. Number two, do you think that adult children have the right to be angry with parents who were abusive? Number three, how do you work to help people release their anger? The reason for this question is that some therapists are uncomfortable with anger, and especially with clients who release anger during the session. You will need someone who is not afraid of anger and will encourage you to release yours. Otherwise, he or she might push forgiveness. Number four, do you think it is necessary to forgive parents in order to recover? Number five, do you think there are acts that that can be unforgivable? Number six, do you think divorcing a parent can be a healthy choice? If so, under what circumstances? Divorcing a parent is a difficult enough thing to do without having to deal with the resistance from your therapist. Be sure to get one who is open minded and can give you the support you need and deserve. This is good stuff, y'all. Some people also, get discouraged with going to counseling, you know, um, when they have a therapist who doesn't seem to understand, their plight. But there are therapists who specialize in different things, and there are some bias that exists, even though we work extremely hard to be aware of those bias and keep them from entering the counseling session. Still we're human, and those things do happen. So it is important to ask those hard questions in the beginning so that you don't set yourself up for um, to be to receive help from someone who really can help you, or who really is not helping your particular situation. Okay. So confronting your parent. Ooh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be juicy right here, y'all. Let's see. Okay. And she got some exercises too. Ooh, Lord. Okay. Confronting your parent. As I mentioned earlier, it is important that you try everything possible before deciding to divorce your parent. This includes having a formal confrontation with him in which you tell him exactly how he has hurt you and how you feel about it. What it is that he is doing now that is unacceptable to you, and what it is that you would like from him, including how you expect him to treat you. If you are planning to divorce both parents, it is usually best to confront each one individually. You probably have separate issues with each, and you may feel ganged up on if you confront them both together. Confronting your parent enables you to take back your power, proving to yourself that you are no longer going to allow him to frighten or control you. By facing your parent with the truth and your feelings, no matter how frightened you are breaking the cycle of victimization and are no longer being impotent, passive, or ineffectual, allowing things to happen to you. Don't set yourself up with false hopes and fantasies that your parent will suddenly see the error of his ways and will apologize profusely. Expect him to deny, claim to have forgotten, project the blame back to you onto you, and get very angry. But no matter how the confrontation turns out, Consider it successful simply because you have had the courage to do it. This confrontation symbolizes the beginning of change in the balance of power between you and your parent. It can be extremely frightening to experience your parents' anger. They may become insulting, bitter, or threatening when you stand up to them and tell them you are going to run your life your way. It can be painful to see their pain and disappointment when you tell them no. No, you aren't going to do as they suggest. No, you aren't coming over now. No, you aren't going to become what they wanted you to become. You may be afraid they will say, in that case, to hell with you, in response to your show of autonomy. But what have you got to lose? If your parents are going to reject you for standing up for yourself, the price is far too high. If you have to choose between them or yourself, you have to choose yourself. Perhaps you have had one or more confrontations with your parents already. While I certainly wouldn't blame you for not wanting to try again, maybe this time you are in a different place, or maybe they are. At any rate, it is worth a try. Practice your confrontation by writing it down, speaking into a tape recorder, or just talking it out loud. You can practice by yourself, with a friend, or with a therapist. The following suggested format can be used as a guide or script. Y'all, she even provides a guide or a script in here to use um, to help you to confront your parent. Like, that is so cool. Okay, number one, list what your parent did to make you feel angry, hurt, damaged, guilty, ashamed, or afraid. State each abuse, injustice, injury, damage, and painful memory you have. Example: you neglected me terribly when I was a child. You robbed me of my innocence and betrayed my trust by sexually molesting me. You didn't protect me. You beat me mercilessly and locked me in the closet. Number two, list how you felt as a result of your parents' behavior towards you. For example, I felt unloved and unworthy of being loved. I felt so dirty and ugly inside. I felt so ashamed. I felt frightened and alone. I felt angry but afraid to show my anger. List what effects your parents' behavior has had on you, both during your childhood and in your adult life. Examples: as a child, it affected my ability to trust. It caused me to live in fear. It caused me to have very low self-esteem. It caused me to be bullied, um, to be a bully to others. As an adult, it caused me to be self-destructive. It has destroyed my feelings of self-worth. It has affected me, my sexuality, and my health. Tell your parent how you feel about him now and why. Examples: I feel angry with you for damaging my life. I feel angry with you for letting me down again. I feel afraid. Um, I'm afraid you will molest my children. I'm sorry, I read that last one wrong. I feel afraid you will let me down again. Number five, list everything you want from him now. Examples: I want you to listen to me and believe me. I want you to get help. I want you to stay away from my children. Now, before you confront your parent, you will need to make the following preparations. Number one, take the edge off of your anger by using any of the anger releasing techniques listed earlier in this chapter. Rehearse your confrontation until you are sure of what you want to say. See, I understand, like, taking the edge off of your anger, because, like, you could totally go into this, like, with such anger that you don't even really say what you want to say. And it's not really like, the response that your parents will give, because more than likely they're going to give a response that is unsatisfactory anyway. If you've gotten to this point, more than likely they're going to give you an unsatisfactory answer or response to your confrontation. But if you take the anger off of it, you take the edge off of it, then that is one less thing that gets in the way of the communication. Number three, decide when and where you would like to have the confrontation. Where would you feel most comfortable, secure, and confident? Some people prefer their own turf. Others prefer a neutral place. Some choose to meet in a public place, such as a park, so they can get away quickly if they need to. Many prefer to have the confrontation take place in their therapist's office. If you are apprehensive about violence or loss of control, you may need to have a third party present, even if it is your own rage or loss of control that you fear. Now, I totally understand this, but I would like to put out a word of caution because this book was written in 1990, um, and it's currently 2022, and we have had a lot of violence that has been like even publicly broadcast. And there's people who are committing violence against people like in live streaming it. I would say that if you really fear violence from a person, that you probably should not meet in person and not even with a third party, because there have been, instances where these people have committed violent acts right there in front of therapists and against the therapist, and then took themselves out. You know what I'm saying? So you guys have to be really careful. If you fear violence, okay, if you fear violence at all, even if you fear violence of, that you will be violent, you just don't do it. Don't meet in person. Um, and I think that probably even during this time when she wrote this book, that social media and the and all of the gadgets that we have weren't really as popular. And so nowadays people are streaming their videos, they go live and talk about these issues, and I think that that's perfectly fine. um, because that's just the day and time that we live in, and you can't put yourself in an unsafe situation just for the sake of confronting them face to face. If you fear violence, don't do it. Don't meet them face to face. Not even with a third party. Not even with a group of people. Like, just don't do it. Number 4, set some ground rules for the confrontation and determine how you will express these to your parent. Here are some examples. I want you to hear me out before you respond. I don't want you to interrupt me or stop me. I don't want you to defend, justify, or rationalize. Number 5, obtain a commitment to the ground rules from your parent before you proceed. If your parent is unwilling to do even this much, it is probably better to try the confrontation at a later date. Remember, you have the advantage. You are prepared and you have decided when, where, and under what circumstances the confrontation will take place. I like this because this is empowering. It puts the power back in your hands. So if you don't feel like the time is right, the atmosphere is right, the attitude is right, the vibe is right, then just don't do it. Just wait and for a more opportune time, or just not do it, period. Sometimes a face-to-face confrontation is not possible. Number 6, even if your parent does agree to your ground rules, be prepared for a counterattack, both during and after your confrontation. Expect the worst, including any of the following responses. Denial, for that person to say you're lying, you're exaggerating, you don't remember, or that never happened. Blame, you were such a difficult child, you're crazy, I had to do something to control you. Rationalizations, I did the best I could, things were really tough, I tried to stop drinking but I couldn't. Self-pity, I have enough problems with this, how could you do this to me? And then guilt, look at what we did for you, nothing was ever enough for you, this is the thanks I get. Y'all, I have heard all of the above. All of the above. It's all in my book, y'all. It's all in my book. All of the above. Number 7, make sure you have supportive people to talk to before and after your confrontation. Number 8, be prepared to end the confrontation whenever you decide its effectiveness is over. If you feel threatened or fear you are losing control, if your parent is too busy defending himself to really hear you, or if the confrontation has turned into a shouting match. No matter how clear, reasonable, or articulate you are in your confrontation or in your responses to your parents' counterattacks, your parent may twist your words and your motives, accuse, lie, and make you feel as if you are crazy. Keep in mind, however, that confrontations that end in anger can sometimes lead to positive changes once the initial uproar is over. Give your parents some time to think about what you have said before you assume that she didn't hear you or didn't take what you said seriously. If your parent has shown some capacity for understanding your pain and some willingness to take responsibility for her actions, however small this capacity may seem, there may be hope for the relationship. If she is willing to continue discussing the conflicts between the two of you, you may be able to teach her what does and what doesn't work, what doesn't feel good to you in the relationship. Unlike venting anger, confronting is most effective when done face to face. Unfortunately, this is not always possible. It may be too dangerous if there is a risk of being abused, or your parent may be medically or psychologically fragile and thus incapable of withstanding a direct confrontation. And see, this is what I was saying, you guys. If a face to face confrontation is not possible or is too threatening, there are other ways to confront. Using the format above, you can write a confrontation letter or make a tape or to confront on a tape recorder. Okay, so that's what I was saying. I should have just read it, huh? Just nope. No, I'm gonna say what I got to say when I say it, honey. No, but I think like with a lot of the violence that's just been happening here lately, it's just better to err on the side of extreme caution, especially when this person has shown you that they are capable of, committing violence against you, physical violence against you. And when that person has made threats that they will, you have to take that seriously. Do not ignore when a person makes threats against you or when they have abused you physically in the past. Okay. Sometimes it is our parents who do the divorcing when we finally stand up to them and confront them about their behavior, expose a family secret, or start to break away. Even though you may not be the one who initiates the divorce, make sure that you come up from a position of choice and allow the divorce to proceed. For example, if your parent rejects you for standing up for yourself, then you have a choice to let it be and not get hooked back into trying to reason with him, please him, or placate him. Don't let him threaten you into submission one more time, especially since you have been considering divorcing him in the first place. You knew the risk when you first decided to confront your parent with the truth. Remind yourself that you decided to confront because you couldn't tolerate the way things were. If your parent cannot tolerate hearing the truth or cannot deal with who you are, then the healthy thing would have been for you to stop seeing him anyway. Marshall's mother started being sexually seductive toward him when he began to enter puberty. She would walk around the house with little or nothing on and act surprised when he saw her. She would also mistakenly walk in on him while he was showering, using the toilet, or dressing. When he began to lock the door to the bathroom, she acted hurt and insulted. She would ask him to give her a massage because her back hurt, and she would offer to rub his sore muscles if he complained after playing baseball. She tried to engage him in conversation about girls he might be attracted to or about sexual relationships he had had with his father before that she had had with his father before he died. Marshall was constantly embarrassed by his mother's advances, but at the same time, he often felt aroused. When this happened, he was mortified. I can't tell how I can't tell you how utterly ashamed I was over these feelings, he said. I would feel like the scum of the earth for being turned on by my own mother. Now, of course, I realized I was only responding like a normal boy to sexual stimuli, but then I couldn't understand how I could feel like that. Because of his mother's continuous seductiveness, Marshall had a love-hate relationship with her. He loved her because in every other way she was very kind to him, and he appreciated the fact that she'd been supporting him since his father's death. He took the fact that his mother never dated as a sign of her loyalty to him and to his father. And he felt proud of her because she wasn't like so many of the other single mothers he knew who went out drinking and picking up men. But he hated her for being sexual with him and putting him in such a bind. He had to refuse her advances, and yet he became increasingly aroused while in her presence. Marshall's mother continued her seductive behavior even after he became an adult. Wearing low cut blouses and tight pants, she would come up to him and put her arms around him. This is what he said. I would feel like I was going to be smothered. She held me so close. I tried to avoid having anything to do with her physically, but she made that impossible. She grabbed me before I could get away. For years, I just couldn't bring myself to tell her to stop because I knew her feelings would be terribly hurt. But finally, I realized that I had to confront her and tell her to stop. I had nothing to lose at that point because if I didn't tell her, I would have to stop seeing her because if I didn't tell her, I would have to stop seeing her. Well, I told her and she became enraged. She accused me of having been attracted to her all those years, and she claimed that she had just been putting up with it all that time not to hurt my feelings. She said that she was extremely humiliated that I would accuse her of such a thing. At that point, I realized I had to break all ties with her. Um, y'all, it had been unhealthy for Marshall to be around his mother because of her seductiveness with him. But now it was even more unhealthy because she refused to tell the truth and had turned things around in order to save face. Continuing the relationship with her under these circumstances would have left Marshall in an abusive situation. Fortunately, he realized this. Okay, now it's talking about testing the waters. There's not that many more pages left, so let's just get through this. Testing the waters, the temporary separation. It may be important for you to temporarily separate from your parent so that you can test out some of your fears, for example. The fear that you will not survive without a parent. Often, such a fear is left over from childhood when we needed our parents in order to survive. By temporarily separating from your parent, you can prove to yourself that the adult you are now certainly can survive and can also take care of the child within. A temporary separation can be an excellent alternative to an out and out divorce. If you are racked with conflict about taking the final step, many people view the temporary separation as more of a trial separation, a time to test how they feel about not seeing their parents. They may still want to give their parents a chance to treat them differently. And although this should not be your primary purpose for a temporary separation, one of the benefits can be that it gives your parents time to think things over as well. Some parents have indeed missed their adult children enough to be willing to make some changes. Lupe, a client of mine who had separated from her mother for 6 months, found that her mother missed her so much that she agreed to go into therapy with her in order to work on their problems. I like that. See, these are the stories that I think are also important to know that there is reconciliation. That sometimes a separation may just be temporary, um, and then that'll help to work out the issues. Okay, let me continue reading. While you are still seeing your parent, you may both stay locked in the same negative patterns of communication and behavior. Time away from each other may help you to distance yourself enough that you do not get back hooked, or you not get hooked back into these negative patterns. It may also help you to be more objective about your parent. With more emotional distance, you and your parent might rediscover some genuine positive feelings for each other. On the other hand, the objectivity about your parents that you gain from temporary separation may help you decide not to continue the relationship with them, as was the case with Marjorie. Although Marjorie chose to separate from her parents temporarily in order to get a better perspective, the separation became a permanent one. Okay, so here's what Marjorie said, y'all. She said, um, when you are in the midst of something, it's hard to see the truth about it. If you grow up with a lie, you have to step back from it, um, or you can't see the forest for the trees. I had to break away from my family in order to discover who they really are. There were so many lies in my family that my parents had so many masks, my parents had so many masks and facades that it was hard to know who they really were or what was really going on. This was particularly true of my perception of my mother. Breaking away from her enabled me to see her for who she really is and to see elements of our relationship that I had been blinded to. If it hadn't been for those breaks, I would have continued to believe her, believe that she really cared about me when she clearly doesn't, believe the false front she puts on for everyone. Because I stayed away from her, because I stayed away from my entire family for a while, I was able to see my sisters more clearly as well. I now realize that one of them is just like my mother, pretending to care, giving lip service to caring, but all the while being incapable of truly understanding how I feel of understanding, or of standing up for me against my dad. With some time away, I have been able to see my other sisters more clearly also, and I was pleasantly surprised at what I saw. I always felt abused by her since she was so critical and distant, but she has really been the only one to stand by me. She has attended several therapy sessions with me, and my therapist and I, in turn, have gone with her to see her therapist. We have helped each other to fill in the blank spots of our childhood memories. I've also learned a lot by observing how my family responded when I separated from them. Instead of acting concerned about the fact that I didn't want to see her for a while, much to my surprise, my mother seemed to actually be relieved not to have to deal with me anymore. I realized what a burden it had been for her to have to continually put up the facade of being a caring mother. I gave her the perfect out, and she took it. I had fully intended to divorce my father, but I really thought I would eventually reconcile with my mother. My temporary separation from her has turned into a permanent one. Wow. A trial separation can be very painful, but it can also be a time of enormous growth. Since you will not be spending large amounts of time or energy on your conflicts with your parents, you will have more energy available for your own life and your recovery. Hmm. I don't know. I think once I finally cut my father off, I didn't have any plans of like ever reconciling with him again. Um, I think I just at that point I just knew I was just like he's a narcissist, and there really is um no hope for our relationship. I think that there are some people who have issues, but they're not narcissistic, and um they're not that bad. But they have caused damage that that is bad, and but when they're given the opportunity, they're presented with this scenario of like, look, I really am considering having to cut contact because it's for my own safety, it's for my own health. I believe that there are a lot of people out there that will take heed to that and will do what is necessary to work on those situations and those relationships, but not everybody is, and that's a painful reality for a lot of us. Okay, I'll continue reading here. There is no recommended amount of time necessary for you to spend away from your parent. Some people find a brief period of a few months sufficient, while others have stayed away for years. Sometimes a temporary separation can evolve into a permanent one because it feels so good to get away that you wouldn't think of trying again. At other times, it turns out that while the adult child may intend the separation to be only temporary, circumstances cause it to be a permanent split. When Carrie told her father she wasn't going to see him or talk to him for a while, uh, talk to him while she was in recovery, he got so angry with her and told her that, as far as he was concerned, he no longer had a daughter. Mm, 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 mm. Set up your time away in a way that feels right to you. You may choose to have a complete break with no communication at all, Or you may want to simply limit the time you spend with your parent. Or you might decide to communicate only by mail or phone during the temporary separation. This is what Adina did. I got, this is what she said. I got so I just couldn't see my mother in person because I feel so trapped. But I could talk to her on the phone just to check in. Then, as soon as I got uncomfortable, I could say, I have to go. You may choose to see your parent only at important functions such as weddings, funerals, and anniversaries. Or you may limit your contact even further, sharing important news via letters or phone calls. You will also need to decide how you will communicate to your parent your need for time away. You can do this in person by mail or by phone, telling your parent exactly why you don't wish to see him or her for a while. Holly told her father the truth. I love you, but I can't be around you right now. Seeing you gets in my way of recovering. It gets in the way of my recovery. I'll call you when I feel stronger. Many people aren't ready to be quite that honest. Instead, they just avoid their parents for a while, making up excuses as to why they can't see them. If you do tell your parent about your intention to temporarily separate, make sure you are firm about your need for a break. Your parent may not take no for an answer and may insist on continuing to see you. She may even try to contact you more often than she did before. Remind yourself and your parent that if she really cares about you, she will respect your need for some time away. While your parent may press you and tell excuse me, while your parent may press you to tell her how long the separation will be, you probably will not know ahead of time. Some people feel that a temporary separation should be at least 3 months long. After this time, you can reevaluate how you feel and extend the separation, resume the relationship, or make the separation permanent. As part of your evaluation, you may wish to meet with your parent and see if she has changed at all. Or you may base your decision about what to do next solely on how you have changed during the separation. Now you guys know I've continued to watch my father on Facebook. He has a Facebook Live and he goes live on usually on Sundays and Wednesdays. So I've been watching him for the entire duration of this separation that we have had, and I have seen no change. And he's still even though he has a public platform and has engaged me on that platform, he still has not admitted to anything. Still have not anything. There's no change. So I have observed him. I just wanted to say that. Okay. At this point, you have made a decision. As I am sure you have heard before, not deciding is also a decision. You have decided that you definitely do not wish to divorce your parent, that you are not ready to do so, that you wish to try a temporary separation, or that you are going to proceed with a divorce. This decision is based on what you feel right now, and it may change at any time. If you do not feel ready to divorce your parent at this time, for whatever reason, that is okay. For many of you reading this book, it will be just a matter of time before you divorce your parent. At this point, however, you may still have some hope that the relationship can be salvaged. It is difficult to know when the time has come to give up hoping. Each of us must come to this major decision on our own, in our own time. Some people continue trying and hoping for years, while others feel they have already waited long enough. The main question you must ask yourself is this: do I see any signs, however small, of some consistent progress on the part of my parent? Keep in mind how long it has taken you to be able to make your own changes. Don't expect an immediate positive response from your parent just because you are responding to her in a healthier way. And don't expect any initial changes in your parent to be major ones. Instead, look for small changes at first, such as less defensiveness on your parent's part when you want to talk about your childhood. On the other hand, The price of continuing your relationship with your parent may simply be too high. Even though you may note some slight changes, her overall behavior and attitude toward you may still be too damaging and threatening for you to withstand. You will know if and when you are ready to sever the ties. While it is important to try everything possible and view divorce only as a last resort, it serves no purpose to continue trying when nothing is being accomplished. If you've tried telling your parent the truth, only to have him deny it, if you've tried expressing your anger and working things out, only to have your parent turn on you and abuse you further, or if your parent continually accuses and confuses you, it may be time to stop trying. If your attempts to communicate or reconcile with your parent have fallen on deaf ears, it's possibly time to stop talking. There may come a time when you have to say, no matter what is going on with my parent, I have to lead my own life. I can feel tenderness and empathy for my parent, but it doesn't mean I have to be around him or have a relationship with him. I can feel anger, but it doesn't mean I have to retaliate. I have to cut the cord for good. Wow. That was chapter 3, y'all. That was chapter 3. And it is, oh man, it's this is good. I can't express that enough. I know I keep saying that, but I'm really loving this book. These are really good steps, really good action steps, really good exercises. Um, Very thoughtfully written. And you could tell it wasn't written in anger. You could tell that she was able to work out her own issues, um, while helping other to work out theirs, and while writing this book so that it, helps me. So it's like, this is good stuff. So we have like chapter 4 is preparing yourself for the divorce, right? And this actually is probably the shortest chapter of them all. hmm It looks like it's probably the shortest chapter. But this is good, you guys. So then I just come back maybe tomorrow, and well, it is already tomorrow. Come back and then do chapter 4. But I'm gonna put together like a nice little um, write up of this, and probably a couple of stories about how I work through these issues and work through these steps myself. But this is good though. I'm gonna go ahead and end this since I've already been on here for 2 hours, and and I hope that this is helping someone. I really pray that this really helps you to reconcile relationships. I'm pro relationship, okay? Even though it doesn't seem like it probably right now, I am pro relationship. But I'm pro healthy relationship. If it's toxic, then it's got to go. It's got to be cut off, like period. Because we just can't live like this anymore. Like these toxic relationships are affecting every part of our lives, even into our physical health. And so we have to really consider like, do we continue this toxic relationship with this one person, maybe two people, and then we sacrifice every other relationship that we have in our lives? Maybe you can look at it like it's a greater good type of scenario. I have to cut out this one person or these two people in order um, to be successful in my other, hundreds of relationships that I may have, or whatever. Because I mean, believe it that it affects you on your job. It affects, your interactions, your social life. This stuff affects you. And it's just about that time that we really think about saving ourselves. You know? And so I would love for you all to um, write me, chat with me, join my mailing list, grab my book, share your feedback, all of that good stuff. I'm building a community here, and I would love to have you, to be a part of it. So I have it. I have that information pinned to the comment section and in the description. So go ahead and reach out to me. And what else? What else I want to say to y'all? Have y'all got my book yet? Have y'all got my book? Go get my book. Okay, honey, go get it. Go get it. Go get it. Get your blessing. Ah, okay. I'm sure it'll bless you. It'll bless you like Mary said. Go get it. Go get it. Get your blessing. Y'all better go get it now. All right, y'all. I love you. You are important to me. I need you to survive. Bye bye for now. I love y'all.